Today we are driving the BMW M2 Competition. This car is for sale at Platinum Motor Cars in Birmingham, Michigan. It's an absolutely beautiful spec. You guys have to check it out. It's listed for just under $64,000. So what is the BMW M2 Competition? Well, the regular M2 is no longer available. You can only purchase a competition vehicle, and the biggest change to what the competition offers is an upgraded engine. The regular M2 had a N55 inline-six 3-liter turbocharged engine. It made 365 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. In the competition, you get the S55 3-liter inline-six turbocharged engine from the BMW M3 and BMW M4. In this car, it makes 405 horsepower and 406 pound-feet of torque, which are very healthy increases over the previous regular M2's output. You'll also notice though that it doesn't quite make the same power as it does in the M3 and M4. Those are up in the, with that competition M3, you're at 444 horsepower. There are a couple reasons for that. First off is you have to maintain the hierarchy in the rankings. You can't have the smaller, lesser priced M2 superseding an M3 and M4 that costs a lot more. So that's one reason. The second one is the M2 is a smaller frontal area. You get less airflow, and therefore with less airflow, cooling, and they detune the power right there. There is probably a lot of easy options for you to up this power level, but in stock form at 405, it feels quite healthy. Rear-wheel drive only, like the regular M2. Also, the standard manual transmission, 6-speed manual, that is the one that is offered as standard, and this car is equipped with it, and I'm very, very happy to get to drive a manual M2 Competition. The DCT is available. That's obviously going to be the faster one. The fastest 0 to 60 quoted time from BMW is going to be 4.0 seconds with the dual clutch transmission. While we're talking about the transmission, it is worth mentioning it has automatic rev matching for you, which can be nice at times. You get perfectly matched rev matches for downshifts, but the only way to turn it off is to completely disable your stability system. So either you get the computer matching revs for you, or you get absolutely no stability control. There's no independent button to control that, which I kind of wish there was. Another example of something like that is in the Porsche GT3 manual, the rev matching is tied to being in sport mode. So if you're in sport mode, the car rev matches for you. If you're not, you can do it on your own. With any BMW M car, especially a competition model, we have to talk about handling. And they did a good amount of things to improve it on this competition model. You get this big carbon fiber front strut brace that goes right around the engine, arcs all the way through the engine compartment. You can see it up front to help front end rigidity. You have an M active differential, which controls where the power goes to either the rear wheels, depending on how you're turning, what traction situations are like, to help you put that power down. This will still be a little bit tail happy car. It is a lot of fun to drive though. Something I find interesting is always the comparison that this is the smaller M, and it's lighter and supposedly a little more compact than the M3, M4. While it is true that the overall length of the M2 is shorter than the M3 and M4, the wheelbase is within 3 inches, and the weight is actually pretty much right up there. This is the lightest possible M2 Competition you can buy with a 6-speed manual transmission, and according to BMW's website, they quote it at 3,600 pounds. Interestingly enough, I was also on BMW's website and I went over to the M3 manual, a non-competition, just a regular M3 manual. It was quoted at 3,575 pounds. The M4 is a little bit heavier. I think it's 3,665 pounds. But as a result of that, I mean, the M2 is pretty much the same weight as the M3 and M4. If you will compare it to a couple of generations ago, though, I always have viewed, and a lot of people have, the M2 as kind of a more spiritual successor to the E46 M3. The E46 M3's quoted curb weight was 3,415, so cars have gotten a little bit heavier. They are definitely filled with more materials. They are larger, but as you also get a lot more power, performance, and a lot more technology and safety features available with that. So how does it drive? Even though I just said all these things about how the wheelbase is very close and the overall weight and everything, the M2 does feel a little more nimble. For some reason, it seems to shrink around you a little bit more than the M3 and M4 does. It feels a little more compact. I don't know if part of that is the psychological understanding that this is the baby BMW M model. Physically wise, dimension wise, it is similarly sized, but it does feel a little more nimble. I love driving this competition. I didn't really like the regular M2, but the competition with the increased power out of this S55, it feels a lot stronger. The previous one I drove was DCT. This manual is a lot more fun and involving, but I think as with the M3, the competition pack is definitely worth it. let's talk about styling. I really like the way that the M2 looks. I was never a huge fan of the previous 1 Series. It always looked a little too squished and squat to me. I don't think it looked quite that nice. It looked like somebody took a E93 Series and kind of squished it in. When the 2 Series launched, I was like, wow, that looks a lot better. It's a lot more sleek. It looks more aggressive. I'm a big fan of how the M2 looks, especially the competition. Changes they made to the competition, you get blacked out larger front kidney grills, the updated headlights of the new daytime running light shape, larger intakes for the revised front fascia, looks very aggressive. You see the flared out wheel arches around back. You got the quad exhaust tips, obviously, they're blacked out. The wheels on the competition, I think they're a little too busy. I kind of prefer the simpler, cleaner design of the regular M2 wheels. But overall, I think the M2 competition looks great, especially in this paint color. It looks beautiful. I've seen it. It's overcast right now, so it's a little muted. But in the sun and under other direct lighting, it looks amazing. M2 is a little bit smaller than the M3 and M4, but overall, I think this car looks great. Luckily, they haven't made the front kidney grills like gigantic on the X7 or 7 Series yet. On the inside, it's very nice. It's not quite as premium as the M3 and M4. It is a 2-door. There are seats in the back, but I would not want to sit back there. It's not quite as spacious as a smaller vehicle. You don't have quite as high-level materials, but it's still very nice. These seats are heated, these really nicely bolstered sport buckets there with this nice blue stitching, the accents there, and then you get the little M2 M2 badge that lights up on the seat itself. Visibility is great. The car does have the latest iDrive. It has Apple CarPlay, but for some reason, BMW hates Androids. They refuse to offer Android Auto, and even Bluetooth trying to sync to a BMW, I used to have all these difficulties. They would hate it. So if you have an iPhone, you're good to go. Androids, good luck. But the inside of an M2 is a good place to be, and this is a driver's car. This one, luckily, is equipped with a 6-speed manual transmission. It's a good transmission. As I mentioned earlier, you have active rev matching available. And this car makes good power. It is fun to drive. It puts a smile on your face, and I vastly prefer it to the regular M2. I feel the same way, actually, about the M3. The regular M3 is good, but the competition is where I think is the sweet spot for the car. Pricing-wise, this car starts at $59,800. The competition pack is about a $4,000 upgrade, similar to on the regular M3, M4 competition pack. So competitors here, really, there's a couple. The TT RS Audi is available, but that also costs a lot more. It has all-wheel drive. You can't get one of these with all-wheel drive, so I think that kind of appeals to a different type of shopper. The Porsche Cayman is also similar to this, but will cost a lot more than the M2. The regular M2 has been out for a little bit. You can't buy a new one anymore, but there are depreciated used ones out there, so those are going to be a little bit cheaper than the competition. But you do not get that S55 motor. There's no way you can make up for that OEM increased upgraded engine. Also, I think you compare this to an M3 and M4. Now, the M4 and M3 started a lot higher. They're $65,000, $70,000 vehicles brand new without any options. So this is going to be cheaper. And you get the same engine as you would in the big brother M3 and M4. So that would also be something I could see somebody cross-shopping. So what would you want to do then in that situation? I think if you're looking for something that's a little more nimble, it feels a little more playful, you would get the M2, especially the competition model. That's what I would go for. It's just the way this car makes you feel. It's different. I've spent a lot of time in an M3 competition, and this car just feels a little more compact. Even if I know I've looked at the actual physical stats and the weight and everything, they're pretty much there. It's got to be how they tune the car, how the whole package comes together. Overall, I really like the M2 competition. I think upgrading to the S55 motor really does make a big difference. It feels a lot stronger, quicker, and I'm also really happy I got to drive a manual transmission one. I know the dual clutch there is a little bit faster, it's smoother, it's quicker, but you can't beat shifting gears yourself, having a clutch pedal, and also the rev matching is actually pretty nice. And overall, I really like the way the competition package adds some features in there beyond just the engine. You get the changes of styling. The new aggressive front end looks great in my opinion. The handling is better. It's a little bit sharper. It does ride a little bit firm, but it's livable in a little sports car that does handle the way it does. I really like this car a lot. Special thanks to Platinum Motor Cars in Birmingham, Michigan for making this review possible. Go check out the inventory. This car is available there. They've got tons of other cool cars. If you guys have any questions, please comment below. Thanks for watching.